By the time his father said it, the sentence was already late. They were standing in the kitchen, coats still on, the house smelling faintly of oranges and dish soap. December light pressed weakly through the window. His father spoke the way he always did when he'd already made a decision, calm, almost courteous, like he was explaining a scheduling conflict. "We're spending Christmas with people who actually belong," he said. Not sharply. Not apologetically either. Just factual, as if belonging were a measurable qualification that his son hadn't quite met. There was a pause long enough to suggest a response was expected. An argument, maybe. Or hurt. Instead he nodded. No problem. The relief on his father's face was brief but unmistakable. Conflict avoided. Efficiency restored. That was how it usually went. On the drive home, he didn't turn on the radio. Traffic lights blinked from red to green with mechanical patience. He noticed, vaguely, that his hands were steady on the wheel. That surprised him. Years ago, a sentence like that would have left him raw for days. Now it landed differently, cleaner, sharper, like a final clarification. At home, he made pasta, ate standing up, rinsed the plate immediately. Routine kept things from spreading. Later, he opened his laptop. He told himself he was just checking email. That was half true. What he was really doing was inventory. There were the shared cloud drives, set up years ago when his parents' business grew faster than their systems. Accounting software he'd configured, temporarily. Vendor portals registered under his phone number. Payment processors tied to an email he'd created because no one else wanted to deal with the setup. None of it had ever come with a title or a thank you. It had simply become his role, the capable one. The invisible infrastructure. He hovered the cursor over the first account longer than necessary. Habit, not doubt. Then he changed the access permissions. Removed himself. Logged out. He didn't delete anything. Didn't lock anyone out maliciously. He followed platform guidelines, transferred ownership where possible, documented the changes in a neutral folder labeled admin notes. It felt less like revenge and more like returning keys to a house he no longer lived in. By midnight, it was done. Christmas came quietly. He spent it with a friend who cooked too much food and didn't ask questions. They watched a bad movie. Snow came down in soft, uncommitted flurries. He checked his phone once, out of reflex, then put it face down again. Nothing from his family. The first sign came the next afternoon, a missed call from an unfamiliar number. Then another. A text from his mother that read, "Do you know why the invoices aren't going through?" He waited. By the following morning, the tone shifted. "We can't access the payroll dashboard. Can you call when you get this? This is urgent." He watched the messages arrive while drinking coffee, the mug warming his hands. There was a familiar pull to respond quickly, to smooth things over before frustration curdled into blame. He noticed the pull, acknowledged it, and let it pass. Midday brought the first real crack, a voicemail from his father, voice tight, stripped of its earlier composure. "Something's wrong with the accounts. We've got clients calling. If you changed something, we need you to fix it. Now." He didn't delete the message. He saved it. An hour later, an email arrived from a third party, an accountant copied on a thread. Polite. Professional. Clear. "We've identified that primary administrative access was reassigned. For compliance reasons, only the previous administrator can authorize restoration or formally decline involvement." There it was. Authority, clean and unmistakable, saying what he hadn't said out loud, yet this wasn't informal anymore. His phone rang again. He answered this time. "Why would you do this?" his father asked, skipping greeting entirely. "This isn't the time for games." He leaned back in the chair. "I'm not playing." Silence, then his mother's voice faintly in the background, urgent, overlapping. "We need you," his father said, not gently, not kindly. Just truth slipping through. He let the words sit between them. "I stepped away," he said. "I made sure nothing was damaged. Everything's intact. I'm just not attached to it anymore." "You can't just decide that," his father snapped. "I didn't decide it today." Another pause. This one heavier. "What do you want?" his father asked finally. He considered the question carefully. "Not emotionally, structurally. I want clear boundaries," he said. "If I'm involved, it's defined. If I'm not, I'm not. And I'm not doing unpaid, unacknowledged work for people I don't belong to." The words sounded strange and right at the same time. His father exhaled sharply. "So you're punishing us?" "No," he said. "I'm adjusting." They didn't resolve it on that call. Or the next. The business scrambled, hired consultants, paid rush fees. Things stabilized eventually, without him. The world didn't end. It rarely does. What did end was something quieter, the assumption that he would always be there, quietly holding things together, regardless of how little space he was given. Months later, his father mentioned Christmas again, awkwardly, as if testing the air. He responded politely, distantly. The shape of the relationship had changed. It hadn't collapsed. It had simply lost a center. Sometimes, late at night, he still thought about that sentence, people who actually belong. It still stung, a little. But it no longer defined the room he stood in. Belonging, he'd learned, wasn't something you argued your way into. It was something you argued your way where, once you stopped propping up places that had already decided you were optional.